Hey, Amir, I think you can hear me and I see you're present. Amir, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great.
Great that you're here. Everything okay there?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Great. So I'm dialing in from Nairobi as I told you on Gmail.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if my internet will hold. We had some good moments during the day and some bad moments. But in case something goes wrong, we also have Kent in the panel. And Kent, I think I can ask you to unmute as well. I know he's there.
Hi, Rand. Hi, Amir.
Hi. Hi.
So in case everything goes wrong on my side, Amir, then Kent is here as well.
Sure.
What I propose we do is that I'll make you the host, and that gives you full control over the webinar. So then you can turn on your camera, you can share slides, but it also means that I'm no longer the host. So you will see me drop away, and I cannot share any slides, or I can still ask you questions, but that's about it.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Sure.
And then we start in 2 minutes. I'll do a quick intro and then hand over to you. Okay, let me make you the host, so then you can check if everything works. There you go.
Great. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, but
I think you can switch on the camera and share slides. I think that is. Here we go.
And
good to see you.
Same. Is it working?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And where are you calling from? Is it in Sweden?
Yeah.
In Stockholm or something else?
No, this is something else. I have a second house. So we're
In
in
which
the
location?
Skövde. It's
Where's
close
that?
to. It's on the west side, so it's close to Gothenburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it next to the sea?
No. It's 2 hours away.
Okay. It's a fantastic country. Are you Swedish by the origin?
No, I'm born in Sweden, but my parents are from Iraq.
Okay. Sweden is fantastic. It's a super beautiful place.
Yeah, it is.
I'm always. I think everybody in the Netherlands is always sort of jealous of both Norway, Finland, and Sweden. I think we know it's more beautiful, but yeah, it's just accepted for now. Okay, so we have maybe to clarify a bit on the for the audience listening. Here, there's already someone saying Sweden, land of my many favorite heavy metal bands.
Yeah, it's not my style really.
Same here. But Pain of Salvation, Opeth, Meshuggah, they're clearly okay. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock here in Nairobi. I think it's 1 o'clock in Sweden, if I'm correct, Amir. So I suppose we can start. it's going to be quite busy. So we have 800 people that signed up. In practice, that probably means we'll have maybe 100 or 200 people live in the session. But if you're listening, that still means that if you have a question, then try to squeeze it in, because it will still get quite busy on the chat probably, or on the Q&A box. I'm here to make your life easy. I will not make you read all the chat while you're doing the presentation. I think that's going to be too hard. So what I would propose is that for Kent and me, we are looking at the chat, we're looking at the Q&A. You can do the story, and we'll pose the questions to you at the right time. And maybe I'll make the intro very short, because you can do a much better job than I can. But I do know that you're the Chief Digital Officer for Coop. Do you say that, pronounced as Coop always, also in Sweden, or?
In Sweden we say Coop, but I know that many others say Co-op.
Co-op, yeah. So I was wondering what the pronunciation was, but technically, the reason why I think it's fantastic to have you here is your interest in the whole digital transformation of supermarkets, shopping, and specifically Web 3.0, AR, VR, NFTs. So I think quite broad, and your view on that. And I think let's take it away with the story. Super interesting topic, and super happy to have you.
Great, thank you. Very happy to be here, and very grateful for having me. My name is Ahmed. So I work as the Chief Digital Officer for Co-op, if you want, in Sweden. I have a background in technologies. I've been a programmer and a nerd since I was 14. Just now, before this session, when I finished the presentation, I was rewatching Star Trek: The Next Generation for the 22nd time now. I've seen that show so many times. My background after school is I've raised a couple of startups. I've crashed a few. I managed to sell one. And then after that, I was the global head of innovation for Stena Line, which is a big shipping company in Europe. And then currently I am the Chief Digital Officer for Co-op, which is a big supermarket grocery retail brand in Sweden with 800 stores. So I hold these keynotes very often, or lectures, and I usually talk about these four topics. And the metaverse part will come in the experience topic. I usually talk a little bit about technology, in this case AI, and how important it is to society, and to understand how much of an impact it has had and continues to have. People underestimate that a lot. I'm going to talk about the experience and how important it is with experience. It's actually the only thing that matters. And then how do you actually come up with, I will show you a couple of examples of things we've done at Co-op. And how do we come up with these things? It's not that we are geniuses. There are common methods that you can use to transform something. And then the mindset. I run a department which is 120 people, and my main task is to recruit people way smarter than me. That's all I do, 12 hours a day, nothing else. And I'm going to talk about, how we can recruit people doing all these things that I'm going to talk about. So let's start with the first one, AI. And I usually don't talk too much about it. The only thing I want to convey here is that if you simplify the history of humanity, you will see that there are certain technological breakthroughs that have completely changed societies. It has changed economies. It has even changed, in some cases, our own, biology. In the case of discovery of the fire, it changed our metabolism, for instance. So there is always these technological breakthroughs that pushes us forward. And what you need to understand is that artificial intelligence, everyone is talking about it, it will change us more than all the other ones combined. So just imagine, just imagine how the creation or the invention of the wheel changed how we build cities and societies. Just imagine, what the mobile phone did for us, or the internet. I read once that up until the point of the discovery of the penicillin, it took nature around 2,000 years to increase the average lifespan of humans by 5 years. So remember that it took 2,000 years for nature to do that. When we discovered the penicillin, in 10 years, the average lifespan increased by 10 years. So just think about this. It took nature 2,000 years, and a technological breakthrough did the same thing in 10 years. So technology has always had a great impact. And what you need to understand is that we haven't even started, on the journey to artificial intelligence. We're at the very, very, very start of it. And one thing to understand is also that it won't happen overnight. So I don't know if you've seen this image before, but this is like a consensus roadmap from the automotive industry, where they all agree that every car will become fully autonomous eventually, but it won't happen overnight. Okay, sure, some think, like Elon Musk, that it will happen next week, but Volvo thinks it's more like 2030 or 2035. But the point is, they all agree. And the same thing will happen also with companies. They will become more and more autonomous over time. Things like taking decisions and so on, we will leave to much more efficient algorithms to do. And eventually, a company algorithms right now, I know that there are research in Russia actually, where they research algorithms that can do their own hypothesis and even test those hypotheses in production and do MBT and A/B testing and stuff like that. So it's really, really exciting. But already now, every organization should be or strive to be very soon at level 3, allowing machines to take decisions for most of the processes in the company. So, and this is all I'm going to talk about, how important technology is, because today technology is no longer what it used to be in the 1990s. It was something cut out for the very large and the very few that had the resources. And this is what you call the information age. But today we live in what you call the experience age. It is the only thing that matters if you're going to win or lose in your market. It's the experience with your brand. Nothing else matters today, because what we do at Co-op, for instance, all these examples I will show you. All the technologies we use there is not something that we have come up with ourselves or created. It's all open source. It's all services that are cost a few dollars a month and so on and so forth. So one starts to wonder, if we as a big organization, big company with a lot of resources, how can we compete with something that even 2 teenagers in San Francisco can use and build things with? And that's the experience, nothing else. No one cares about who the CEO is. No one cares about who the CFO is or how many controllers you have. The only thing that matters is the experience, period. And you can look at other industries. You can look at industries like Blockbuster, the media industry, entertainment industry. It wasn't Netflix that killed Blockbuster. It was the experience with renting a movie. I don't see my audience here. I don't know if you're old enough or not to remember, you rented movies and stuff like that. But Netflix was.
I remember it, Amir.
Yeah, great.
I remember we didn't have Blockbuster, but we had a local Dutch variant, which was a nightmare indeed
Yeah.
And you would always be late, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what Netflix did or fixed. Same thing with the Uber. It was 2 teenagers standing in the rain, wondering, where is my taxi? Why can I not see it on a map? And that's what they did. They created an app where you can see when the taxi is going to arrive. And now they're the biggest transportation mobility platform in the world. Same thing with Apple. I mean, Apple didn't kill the music industry. What they did was they went after the experience of buying CDs. Again, if you remember, you used to buy a CD for 20 euros, and then what you wanted, maybe one song from that album, and you had to pay 15 euros for that song because it was the original song. It was 8 remixes, by Scooter, E-Type, all those, techno remix artists. And again, Apple came and said, "You one song, $1 download, finito. That's all you need." So again and again, it's always the experience. There is nothing else. So looking at the retail industry, where I come from latest, how are we thinking about this when it comes to experience, what is happening with new technologies like AI, Metaverse, NFTs, and so on? So I'll give you an example that is pretty generic, and you can apply this to your own industry if you wish. So if you look at today's playing field for my industry, which is the retail, you have all these, players like us, Co-op. We have competitors here locally, and ICA. You don't need to care so much about if you know them or not, but they are competitors. And basically, everyone is in this side of the field competing with price. That's if you want to generalize it. Someone offers a cucumber for 10 euros or 1 euro, and then another competitor offers it for 0.8 euros, and then a third 0.7, and so on and so forth. So this will never make us win anything in the long run. It's just the one with the biggest war casa for being able to drive the prices down. They will win, and it's short-term loyalty. What is happening though is that there is a new playing field emerging on the other side, and an absolute prerequisite to join that field is to have the customer use the phone even when they are in the store. So I'm not talking about sitting at home using your phone, to buy milk sitting on the couch using an app. I'm talking about actually walking in the brick and mortar store and using your phone while you are in the store. Because when they do that, a whole new world of opportunities opens up. And this is the new playing field I was talking about. And I'm sure you've read about concepts like scan and go, or like we did at Co-op, scan and pay, where you use your phone to scan your items and then you pay immediately in your phone and then you go out. There is no checkout area or a line you have to wait at or something like that. Everything is done in the phone. This is a step towards. This is more about giving people a reason to start using the phone in the store. It's not the end game. It's not the end goal to have this scan and go solution. This is just the first step. So we invested in this scan and pay solution. We built it from scratch using different services. And then the next question is, how do we get people to actually use the phone in the store? Luckily, we have solutions today where you have this, like the scan gun, your scan Shop Express here is called in Sweden. I'm sure it's called something else around the world, but it's basically a pistol you scan your items with. So people are not too unfamiliar with this behavior of having something and scanning yourself. So what we want to do, there are several ways to do this. One is, you can have something called you get double points, like loyalty points, if you use the app in the shop instead of using paying through the normal casa or the scan. But that's the same thing like lowering the price. If we offer 2 points per euro, they will offer, our competitors will offer 4 points per euro, and so on and so on. So we start saying that we want people to move over by offering experience, a superior experience, or convenience in this case. And I'll show you some ways of doing that. And this is bring us to the experience part. So looking at Scan and Pay, one way of offering experience and convenience is that a lot of people usually tend to look for something that is not good for them, uh, allergens, for instance. So instead of looking at every item, looking through what it contains and so on, it takes time. We can immediately get information about if it has nuts or not. So that's one way of offering something that is convenient and it's a great experience. Another one is, of course, if you're on a diet. Same thing here. 60% of all customers is on a diet at any given time. And you can do the same thing here. You can connect your app to a diet program. And as soon as you scan something, we check if it fits your diet or not. So these are examples of how we make people move to start using the phone in the store. We offer convenience like these. And why do we want people to use the phone in the store? This is where the metaverse comes in. I see already now in the chat. I'm not going to talk about metaverse theoretically. You can just Google metaverse and you'll see all these articles about metaverse. It will be a big business and $1 trillion and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about what we are doing in practice, what we are actually releasing in the market and trying out.
Let me help you a bit, Amer, because I think I think the message was to us as panelists. So it's not this session is about, and I think it's more interesting. We've already had a couple of sessions on the metaverse in general. I'll share the links. So if you want to know what it is, basics, market forecast of the metaverse as a concept, the links will be in the chat in the next minute. But I think the application of these concepts into a retail environment, which is practical with hands-on experience, I think that's the story, and that's the more interesting story for me as well, Amir.
So I will show you a couple of examples of metaverse. And just to talk briefly about the metaverse, metaverse is, as you probably all know, it's this concept where you can walk around in a digital virtual world. So we've all known it as virtual reality previously. Now there's a new hype word where they call it the metaverse. This is a screenshot from one of the largest concerts in the world. Was happening in Fortnite, I think, last year. And what is interesting with this screenshot is that we think about the metaverse as something which is secondary. And during the pandemic, this is when these concerts happened during the pandemic. They sent out a questionnaire to 5,000 young people from 12 to 20. And they asked these people, what is a concert? These were 5,000 people who answered. 40% of the people asked answered that it's an event in Fortnite. So think about that. For us older generation, we think, or we know, I'm afraid to say we know, a concert is something where you go to this big stadium, you are sitting together with 30,000 people, there are dirty toilets and crowded, and it's smelly, and this is a concert for us. But for these young next generation, 40 of them actually think, because that's where the first time they actually heard the word, that the concert is an event in a game. So these are the people, the customers that we need to serve as they grow up and start using our stores and services. So how will that look like, the metaverse in retail? So the way I see it, or we see it at Coop, is that one could think the metaverse is something where you put on some VR glasses, and then you walk around in the living room, you bump into furniture, and you're trying to buy milk. in some kind of digital world. And most people think this is what it means, but it doesn't have to start there. And I'm even questioning if it ever will come there, maybe in 10 years, but not something which is should be happening 2 to 3, 4, maybe 5 years from now. The way we are imagining it is that we have 850 stores. And remember, we have already imprinted the behavior of using the phone in the store. So you're already walking around with a phone where the camera is always on, because that's how you scan things. And this enables us to offer something that you cannot if you don't have the phone in the store. We can offer a digital layer on every physical store, which you can only access and see through the camera or through the phone. Think Pokemon. You cannot see these Pokemon creatures unless you're using your camera. This is the same thing. So, and remember, it's a digital layer. If you have one-to-one personalization from some kind of customer data platform or so, this means that you can offer a one-to-one personalized digital layer for every single customer in the store on the same physical store. So instead of having 850 physical stores, you can have, in our case, 3.5 million unique digital stores that are laid on top of the physical store. So I call this the meta layer. So basically, we can go from 850 stores to 3.5 million stores. And I like to use visuals to show you how that would look like. But imagine, think Pokemon. You're walking around using your phone, scanning, with scan and pay, because you're used to that now and it's convenient. You don't have to stand in line. It looks at your allergies. It looks at your dietary preferences, everything. So you're used to this behavior. But also in the phone, we can have access to your calendar, for instance. So if you want to show you offers in real time, we can show you based on how much time you have to cook this evening and so on. Or we have access to your health data. So for instance, we can see that you have exercised a lot for the last 2-3 weeks. Then all of a sudden, this meta layer can appear for you and be 100% personalized for you. So you can start seeing a shelf, a digital shelf that has products that we think you're gonna convert on. And this is a digital experience. There is no shelf selling these protein powders. It's only the meta layer. And my wife, who's walking next to me, on her shelf there is something else, because it's not relevant for her to buy protein powder, for instance. Or Nike might want to sell something for you because we see that you run a lot. So you get a 20% offer on some kind of Nike shoes, and you can see these shoes in the store. You can try them on with the AR and so on and so forth. So this is the meta. This is how the metaverse is going to affect retail, I think. And these are the things we are trying out right now. We actually last year, before metaverse became this buzzword, we tried out some concepts where every customer got their own pet, and based on how ecological your purchases are, your pet would either be happy or sad, and you see the pet in the store. So I'll show you the concept images we picked out before we actually try it out. So this is an example of someone buying some really ecological stuff. And you see this pet, in this case, it's a horse, standing. You can see this actually stand in the shop next to the milk section. And if you're not buying, the next image we didn't do, but it was a concept. This one we did, but the next one didn't work out so well because people got pissed. And this is if you're not very ecological, your pet wouldn't be happy, and it would show. that you're not really doing a good job.
Oh, with the oil can, it's a bit heavy, right?
Yeah, it is. So we did something else. We actually just removed the rainbow in the prototype we tried out. So we start incorporating this digital world that interacts with you and is 100% personalized for how you behave, and bringing in other products from other suppliers digitally in the shopping trip that you're doing right now in the store. And the conversion levels are off the roof because you're actually in the mindset of buying things. And we can offer things based on what you're shopping that we don't even sell, but partners can offer through a direct-to-consumer platform, for instance. Uh, One of the features we are releasing next year is something we call, this is now a Swedish word, varukorg, but something we call the meta basket. So using scan and pay, you can shop, you immediately when you enter the store, you get two baskets. One is the one you're actually carrying around with, where you put like stuff like fruit, vegetables, meat, and so on. And the meta basket is a virtual basket where you can scan something and just add it and then put the item back. So you don't actually have to bring it with you, like toilet paper or flour or things that you don't need to smell, or you know what they look like, diapers or stuff like that. And this is also a small step, a starting step towards this meta layer, because once you get the behavior, people will understand, oh, nice, I can scan it and then put it back. I don't have to carry it around. Then we can start showing other products, like in the example you saw with the protein powder and so on. So these are the things that are actually stuff we do when we talk about the metaverse. It's one thing to read all these articles about the metaverse and virtual reality and all these billion valuation companies. But this is the stuff we're actually doing in the stores here in Sweden and trying out to see what kind of behavior or response we get from customers. And in Sweden, we are very lucky because we have a mindset, very open mindset to new technology and digitalization. So it's they love these kind of tests that we do with them.
And Amir, can I ask a question that I
Sure.
think it's sort of implicit in your story, but I remember it clearly from the time that when I first called you, right? And because when we first spoke, I asked for a session on AR and VR, and then you were quite clear that, hey, the whole VR part, the whole Mark Zuckerberg pitch on the metaverse,
yeah,
I don't believe in so much. For me, the AR part, what you're now also showing, this digital layer on reality is a much bigger chunk, and that is the underlying vision as well, right?
It is, because we think at least for the next 5 to 10 years, the AR part of the metaverse is where the big opportunities are. Because yeah, that's a good question. How are people to get into the metaverse, AR glasses? So we have an AR device in our pockets currently. And this is why a scan and pay solution is so good, because it makes you use the phone, and the phone has all these AR capabilities. I already now I read a lot about AR glasses coming out this year or next year that look like glasses. Lenses are coming out 4 or 5 years from now. So AR will be a big part of our life in general, not only in retail stores. I was actually giving a lecture 2 weeks ago for 1,500 school principals here in Sweden, and they asked me about how will the metaverse affect us, and I gave them a great example. For instance, education. I think that one of the great opportunities when it comes to metaverse is in education, because I mean, let's look at what's happening in the world today. The survivors from the last World War, haven't even died out yet. And now we're on the brink of starting a third world war already again. And I think one of the big reasons why we are doing the same stupid mistakes all the time is because we don't actually know how it was in during World War II or World War One in the trenches. And with the metaverse coming, we have now the possibility to actually experience history and not only read about it. Because when you read about, yeah, if you put your hand on a hot plate, it will hurt. That's one thing to read about it. But if you actually put your hand on the hot plate, then you will never do it again. And I think the metaverse will offer an opportunity in education where you can actually experience something so that you're less likely to actually do it. It will build more empathy. And I think empathy is very important in education moving forward. And today we have only visual experiences, but already now there are prototypes of synthetic smells, so you can smell how it actually smelled during these battles. And I also know some haptic feedback where you can actually experience some pain in some cases, of course, slight pain. So it will affect our lives much more than we think. If we look at the workplace, for instance, now with the pandemic, before the pandemic, everyone said, yeah, I have to be at work to do my job. But now after the pandemic, there is great opportunities to work hybrid. But the big problem with working hybrid or away from office is that you don't get these spontaneous interactions at the coffee station, that you usually get when you are at a physical workplace. And I think with metaverse technology, there is a way of creating these spontaneous interactions that we don't, that is very hard to do in Teams and Zoom and other similar today. This is a concept example of someone using these glasses, and you can see they are transparent, his colleagues, because they're not really there, but to him it looks like they're there, and they're having this spontaneous interaction. I know someone asked me once, where are you getting these images from? I actually, I have an illustrator. I've been working with him for like 20 years. And every time I get an idea, he draws these scenarios for me. And it helps me a lot when I do talk about the future and scenarios as I see them happening. So these are things when it comes to metaverse and how it will affect markets like retail. And I showed you a little bit about the education and workplace. And one of the questions I also get sometime is, how do we come up with these things? And I will talk about this very shortly, but when we always aim to disrupt the market we are in. So when disruption happens, you need to understand you always look at something called the customer value chain. And what is the value chain? The value chain is, we take something very simple here now. A traditional customer value chain, for instance, in gaming, is that you browse a game, you buy a game, and then you play a game. And then you have all these, Supercell, Rovio, all these up and coming companies, small startups that disrupts the big giants. What is it they are doing, that disrupts the market? And this is very important to understand, because even though I've spoken about AI, I've spoken about the metaverse and AR and stuff like that, we never take the technology and look at what can we do with it. That's not the way to implement new technology. We always look at the customer value chain and try to find out where can we use technology to change something in the customer value chain. So in the case of traditional gaming, most people think that, okay, but these startups, they disrupted Microsoft and so on because they created mobile games. And it's not like Microsoft doesn't have access to iPhones. They can also do games in phones. What they did was they moved these two steps around and said you can play a game and then you can pay for the game, in-app purchases and so on. And this is the same thing here. If you look at a general customer value chain in retail, for instance, this is just a general one, and I'm sure you can apply it at your own industry. But if we look at, for instance, someone going shopping, you map up all the steps that are required. You enter the store, you pick up your Shop Express gun. If you're allergic, you need to, in this case, this customer is allergic. They need to look each product for allergens. And if you're on a diet like vegan or lactose intolerant or whatever it might be, you need to look for that as well. Then you scan the product. And then when you're done, you put back the Shop Express, you stand in line, you pay, you scan your receipt, you open the gate, you go out. So this is the general customer value chain. So when we come up with things like allergy check and so on, it's not that we have this cool new technology which is called the phone or the app or AR. It's because we want to figure out how can we remove these steps from the customer value chain, because these steps are eroding the customer value. They're not adding anything to the experience, and it's just a pain to do them. And looking at this, we think, okay, what kind of technology can we use to remove them? Well, this is how we moved from 10-step customer value chain to a 6-step value chain using scan and pay and AR technology, or metaverse, if you want. So the customer value chain is actually what you generally call it the blueprint for digital disruption, because that's how we come up with all these things, and not we're trying to squeeze in a new technology somewhere because we think it's cool.
But this is a very powerful thing. I mean, like maybe to iterate that again, this because this is not only for retail. This is for any company. I can, if I put Kimo, our company here, then we could learn exactly the same lessons. So you're actually trying to optimize the process as a first goal, instead of squeezing the technology in because it's cool to look at, right?
Exactly. So this is very, very important. The last thing I want to talk about is the mindset. And I won't talk too much about this because, but I know this, and I give you some context to why this question arises a lot. I always get the question, how are you able to do these kind of things coming from a big, almost 150-year-old company? And it all comes down to mindset, you know. These, I'll show you an example. We won some kind of awards. These are a few of my colleagues. This is the data science group. They're doing amazing things, and we're really trying out things. And the only reason we are ahead of our competitors is because we fail faster than they do, much, much faster. I mean, I've shown you some cool examples here, but there are 4,000 failures in the background that I didn't show you. And what happens when we actually fail? And what you need to understand, it's new technology, and people love to try it out. And I'm not talking about using technology in an ABS system for cars. We need to have some common sense. We're using technology. It doesn't matter if it fails. And I'll give you an example of what we did when we released a chatbot. And this was many years ago, and we knew that it wouldn't work. And sometimes when you chat with someone and they say something funny or stupid or something, we always, if I take myself as an example, I always post a funny meme of something when someone says something funny. So we did the same thing. The chatbot, as soon as it failed, it just posted a funny meme of a panda falling over, and we say, we're sorry, it didn't work out, but we learned from this, and we will get better. So it's very, very important not to take yourself too serious when you try these things, and promote failure, because that's the only way to come to the right solution for something. You cannot plan the right solution. If you can plan a right solution, then you please tell me where can I learn this, because everyone would do that and everyone will be highly successful.
But was his panna not appreciated by the average customer?
They loved this. They loved it because they've never seen a big company actually behave like this. So they really, every customer was typing in the chat, ha 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 ha, are you
Good.
serious? You know, they loved it. So yeah, it's very important not to take yourself too serious. So that's actually all I wanted to talk about from my part, and I'm eager to open for questions. Because again, I only wanted to show you what we are actually doing in the metaverse, and not what it can be in 10 years from now. Because to me, that's not really relevant or interesting, because it's just, yeah, an opinion, very, very like anyone can have.
Yeah. So, I mean, thanks so much. And I think exactly the grounding perspective, like this is the actual reality on the ground versus all the projections in the future. I have a lot of questions here on the list, and there are a couple more coming in. My first one is very simple. On this current reality perspective, are the things that you showed, is that available if you fly to Sweden and you go into a store and you have the app? Those things are already there, or are they still in development or in beta?
They're in beta. So we have test flight users, like around 2,000 of them, which we are trying these things out with. And I saw one of the questions was, how do you decide which technology to continue using or to stop? So it's not really based on technology. We decide. Well, I can actually stop my screen maybe, and you can see me. We decide on retention rate. So if we have a hypothesis of a problem or something that we think we can do better with the technology, we solve this problem by offering a superior experience. And what we do is we measure, first of all, how many actually used the service or the function or the experience, and second, how many kept using it. And if that is sufficient to us, we always set up KPIs before we start. We always say, like, okay, 20% should use it again within 7 days, otherwise we stop.
So you have classic software D1, D7, D30 retention metrics, which the prime KPIs. Great. So I think you can see how this will evolve. You answer one question and you have 7 more. Can I ask one from my side? I'm a psychologist by training, and I was quite intrigued with how you planned, or maybe it was by coincidence, that behavioral adaptation, that people first use their phone in a shop, and then you build layer on layer on layer on that initial behavioral adaptation. Was that really planned like that, or was that sort of like a lucky coincidence that you could use now in your advantage as a CDO?
I think it was more luck. What we planned was that we wanted to offer maximum convenience. And for that, we did stuff like allergy check and dietary check and stuff like that. But then came this metaverse thing, and we said, oh shit, they're already using the phone in the store. So we might as well just add some AR technology there. So it was mostly luck, I would say, 60-70% luck.
Yeah, but because you made the right step earlier, and now you could capitalize on that step. Yeah, very very interesting. Because if it was really planned from years ago, that was pretty brilliant as a strategy.
Yeah.
Looking at questions on the list, and I have way more here, but let's do the question from Boyan first. Do you know any projects or companies that you believe have a lot of potential?
Oof. No, I can't say if they have potential or not, but there are many companies trying out many things, but if you're wondering, what me personally, I always like the companies that do that put the basics in something new, like Nvidia, for instance. I believe a lot in Nvidia because I think they will be one of the engines behind the metaverse in terms of hardware. If you look at companies like Epic with their Unreal Engine, that will also be something that will be the base for creating a metaverse. So these kind of companies I like and I follow.
Same here. I must admit that those are indeed pretty amazing places to keep an eye on. There's a question from Ayush, and I think Ayush is really talking about these metaverse 3D worlds, right?
Yeah.
It's so many platforms like Sandbox, Fortnite. We have Decentraland, we have Somnium. There's more. How do you determine which will be the de facto metaverse? And I think you may answer this question in a very different way than it was intended, but
yeah.
up to you.
Yeah, so this is a good question because this talks about a virtual world, whilst the things we're doing at Coop is not really connected to a virtual world. It's like, if you want, we are creating our own virtual world by adding these digital layers on our stores. But it is a good question because eventually, maybe not the coming 5 years, but maybe 10 years, there will be these virtual shopping malls and stuff like that, and our stores will need to be there as well. But that we haven't really looked into. And me personally, I don't know which. I mean, I don't know which one of these platforms will win. But our take on it is that it's too early for that right now. So we're focusing on Metaverse Lite, if you want. And when the adaptation rate of the full metaverse is high enough, that's when we will start looking into that. Maybe we'll do some tests, of course. Already now, I know we've done something like we created a shop in I think it was in Minecraft, stuff like that, but nothing too serious.
Yeah. Clear, and seems well grounded and logical with the ROI for the coming years. Hey, I'm quite curious for the actual user behavior in the test flight, right? So do you see things like higher conversion rates for products that you would promote, and what kind of digital layers are people most like, where are they most enthusiastic? Is that for like product promotions or discounts or personalizations with diets? Like, what is the stuff that works, and how does it translate into buying behavior?
Yeah, so one of the things we've seen, if you start with scan and pay, as an experience, 60% of people who start using scan and pay, they continue using scan and pay. And when we ask them why, they say, first of all, you can skip the line. That is a big advantage. And also the allergy and diet stuff. So it's pure convenience. When we've tried out the AR stuff or the metaverse stuff, the meta layer, so far, the things that have worked the best is stuff that are tied into children. And when we ask them why, they say it's because it keeps the children occupied. Okay. So those are, yeah, that's the thing that works the best right now. So it can be something simple like, do you want to eat pancakes this is one test we did with almost 800 users. When you come in, you check in, you get this horse that you saw in the image, which jumps out of the floor, and then you say to this horse, I want to make pancakes this evening. And then you follow this horse around, and it runs to the ingredients, egg, milk, flour, and so on. And then you pick them up. And all these items were on discount, of course, because we talk to the suppliers and we tell them we will have this game, and this week's recipe is pancakes. And of course, the supplier that offers the best discount on milk, we have like 4 milk suppliers. The horse or the avatar will run to that supplier brand, and point to that brand. So those are the biggest effects we've seen.
And then of course you will see that brand pick up, right, in sales.
Yeah.
And this is extremely interesting. So you combine that both convenient with the horse will guide you to whatever you need, with discounts, with gamification experience. Yeah. There's a question coming from Bojan. Are you planning on using crypto for Coop? Any use for crypto?
I mean, we're thinking about it as well as NFT, but it's still on the concept drawing board. What we are looking into is NFT. I don't know if I never spoke about NFT so much, but NFT stands for non-fungible tokens, and it's a way of writing to the blockchain something like you own this or that. It can be a physical thing, or it can be like a house or a ticket, a flight ticket or whatever, or it can be a digital thing. I'm sure you've seen these monkeys NFTs sell for $70 million and so on. Ignore the monkey, but the technology is that you can prove that you own this image, even if there are 1 million versions of it or copies of it. We're thinking about restructuring our loyalty program using NFTs, and instead of points, for a loyalty program you always get points. We will start. You will start earning crypto instead, but it's very, very early yet, and you have to understand. With smart contracts, that was a good comment. You have to understand. Even though we're sitting here, wondering these things, if I ask 10,000 people in our stores, what is, crypto? We're lucky if we get 4 who knows what it is. So it's very, very early yet.
And let alone smart contracts and how that would actually work and how they could use that with a virtual wallet and all those things, right?
Yeah.
Shubham is asking, how can a common man, like most of the people listening, make money out of the metaverse? So it's a broad question, but happy to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about what is happening now. People are buying land in all these metaverses. So they are decentralized. There is Fortnite. There is I don't remember the names of them, but there are like 6 or 7 worlds right now. Earth 2, I know, is also something where people can actually buy land right now. And if you buy the right piece of land, it's just like in the real world. 10 years from now, it will be worth, I don't know, if you're lucky, 100,000 more, 100,000 times more than, just like New York. I don't know the story. Someone sold New York like 150 years ago.
I think so that someone is the Dutch country, right?
Yeah, exactly. for like $1,000 or so.
Shameful episode.
So it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. You can buy land now and hope it will be the right piece that you bought. So that's one way. Another way, which is something I'm playing around with right now, is buying into these pieces of art with NFTs attached to them, and then just selling them and reselling them. Actually, I'm just buying and holding right now. I'm hoping that will be worth a lot more later. So it's things like that. It's just like in the real world. There is no difference versus the real world. You buy something hoping that it will increase in value. The only difference with the metaverse is that in the metaverse previously, you could not know who owns something. And now you can with the NFT technology. That's the only difference.
Yeah. I think we have 2 more questions, Amir, and then we'll let you go. Then we spent almost a full hour on it, which is I think is a good achievement. With Yeah, it's a very interesting stuff. So one question from Adarsh, and then I have a final question on competition and how you see this moving forward. But let's start with the question from Adarsh. So how do you tackle integration of payment and banking services for a business in the metaverse? So it's a bit more technical. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there are smart solutions to this. So, for instance, Scan and Pay uses virtual casas, where we can know the store and the saldo, and also what is the particular price of this item in this store, or is it on discount right now or not. So using virtual solutions for casa and so on, we also use the same payment methods in the web as well as in the app and in the AR layer, the meta layer. So there is no difference really.
Yeah, same integrations in the
Yeah.
end. Yeah. Final question, and given your role, I'm just very intrigued how you see that. The competitive space. Do you think, where will the main shift in retail come from? Is that companies like Coop or maybe even bigger companies like Amazon, or do you think there is room for smaller players, startups to make an entrance into this space? So how do you look at that strategic chessboard?
I think that the fashion industry has an opportunity to really change and push things to the next gear. So already today, the younger generation is very, very much used to Roblox, Fortnite, decentralized, Sandbox, Earth 2, and so on, where you have all these avatars. I think that someone in the fashion industry already today should make it so that every item that you buy, let's say Zara or H&M or any of the big ones, if you buy a t-shirt from someone, you should already today get a digital version of that t-shirt with an NFT tied to it, so it shows that you're the owner of that t-shirt, and put it in some kind of universal wallet, because eventually when people spend more and more time, and when the younger generation gets older in this metaverse, they would like to have their clothes with them. And that would be a great opportunity to even maybe use the t-shirt you bought in H&M in a Fortnite game, you know. I think there's a great opportunity there.
Yeah, so that fashion integration into NFTs, and that, yeah, and you can see the first things happening there now.
Yeah.
And the wallet technology tends to be still, I think, quite limited, right, to one specific blockchain, and so it's still not fully there. Amir, thanks so much. I had dialing in from Nairobi in between board meetings here. I had a lot of fun, and this was the perfect breakaway from everything else here that we were discussing. So amazing to have you. I will share the recording with everybody that subscribed. So that's the full 800 people in the next 30 minutes. So if you missed it or you missed part of it, you can see it later tonight and watch it again. Amir, thanks.
Thank
we'll
you.
be in touch. And yeah, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.